College in England, at Czechoslovakia, and bonded with the guys. But I decided to stay home, and with me being started up a moving company at, I think it was like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I went on to do win Young Businessman of the Year. I grew it to a very successful business, and I took that mindset and I put it into my bodybuilding. So even when I was an amateur, I treated bodybuilding as a business per se. So even throughout my amateur careers, I chased contracts and whatnot. But the mindset of the bodybuilding business really came from my moving companies, moving company years, and also having the ability to not only grow the company, but also I had staff. I had to take care of all these different things that a business owner has to have. And me now being the brand, nothing changes. I still have all these different things. Even though you see one person, there's so many different things that go on as being the brand Flex Lewis. So it taught me a lot. And I threw myself into the deep end because there was no, again, I see this all the time, but I seem to repeat myself all the time doing this. I wanted to open a business. I seen a gap in the market for the small haulage because there was so many big moving trucks going around Wales at the time, but there was no small haulage. And in the US, they have something called U-Haul. Yeah. So I seen this and I bought a van, and it was me and a man in a van, first of all. And I grew it and grew it. And then I had my first employee part-time, and then he went to full-time, and I kept on obviously growing and growing, and the word of mouth spread, and the accolades and the winning, obviously, Young Businessman of the Year, and definitely opened a couple of doors. And again, there's nothing better than word of mouth. And that's what I prided myself on. You can have all these accolades, but, word of mouth sells more than anything. So that's one of the reasons why when I went into bodybuilding, I thought there's no better thing for me to do than be a people's champion. Give time, spend time, and also be the first guy at the booth and the last guy to leave. It's also paid dividends over the years now, because a lot of people just don't see that. It's a very short forecasting when you just go in, you don't give much time to your fans, and it goes for all sports. I got friends in all different sports. Pro to pro, different thing, but pro to fans, they just box it. There's no extra attention given, if you know what I mean. And I see now with a lot of top class, and again, these are my friends, not naming names, but in various different sports. So I love to try and go a little bit above and beyond, and just try and give a memory to a family or to a fan that they go back and go, wow, I didn't expect that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that. That's brilliant. Mindset is something I want to come on to in a bit. How did you, when you were growing up, were you, when I was sort of 16, 17, 18, drinking, chasing girls, getting turned down, all the standard stuff, What were you like? Were you like that mindset, or were you far away from that? And it was training and so on?
All of the above. Not getting turned down on it. No, I mean, listen, I was one of the jack lads. For me, I was the smallest of the group, but probably the loudest. So I was always up to mischief. I played, like I said, the rugby definitely introduces you into, having a great game on the weekends and a great session after. So I really got a lot of that out of my system very early on, I would say. So the time really I had to turn key, because bodybuilding really is all about Groundhog Day consistency, and not just having bodybuilding in your life Monday to Friday and then going out and partying. It really is 24/7, 7 days a week. So don't get me wrong, I still allow myself to have fun, and I think balance is key, and that's one of the things that I've really been an advocate of, is having balance. But again, you ask any of my rugby boys that I grew up with, I feel like they would say I've not changed. I hope they'd say I've not changed, because I really pride myself in that. Even the accent, there's probably a couple of words that I'll say since I've been living in America now for 10 plus years that'll probably seep out of my mouth, but the accent is still here. And I'm not just putting it on because we're talking here. and obviously we're Welsh, but you know, a lot of guys will be over here 5 minutes, 2 weeks, and they start sounding like American, man. It's like, no, that's not going to happen with me. It's not going to happen with me. Anyway.
That's what's how would you get into the bodybuilding then, pal? What was the journey in the early days?
So, picking up on the rugby, I broke my elbow about a week before. I think it's about a week before I was supposed to have my last trial with the Wales under 16s.
Yeah.
So of course, I was in a plaster cast like this for 8 weeks, and when you're stuck in this plaster cast, just like we're stuck in quarantine right now, I pretty much put all these plans together that I wanted to do to take over the world. Yeah. So I wrote down all my goals, all my dreams and aspirations, because again, I was stuck in the house when everybody else was having a great summer holidays. There I was sitting in the house.
Is that something that was instilled into you by someone else, or is that intrinsic, that passion and motivation to want to set out goals in your diary and how you're going to get there? Because at 16 years old, I wouldn't suggest that a lot of people that would go through their mind.
You know what? I've not really been asked that question. I may have been asked that question in a roundabout way, but I didn't really think there was. I thought everybody thought like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Okay. I thought everybody maybe had a vision like that. I come in from a small town also. I just wanted to just break into something big. I always had this vision of either being an entrepreneur and taking myself to the next level, whatever it was. I had this this mindset of really giving life a go. And with where I was going, well, when I broke my elbow and I was picking up on that, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh, instead of being all like life is unfair and stuff like that, hey, I had the cards dealt to me. My parents told me, you know, you're gonna break an arm, because I bought a motocross bike. I was crazy. I thought I knew better. You know, 16, 15, whatever, you know better. And obviously it's always on the last jump, right? And I broke my elbow. And my life was basically given a flash in front of me, and I nearly lost my arm. I've said this a few times, but I was about a half a centimeter away from having my arm amputated. Oh, so when you get told that, you really have a wake up call, right? And I said to myself, like, okay, you know, I got to get my shit together, and that matured me. Really did mature me. In certain stages. I mean, in other stages, probably not, but it matured me, especially on the mindset, to really be like, okay, let's get this thing back on track again and see what I really need to do. So when I told myself I wanted to get out of this plaster cast, and I said I wanted to do a backflip, I wanted to walk on my hands, all these things that people thought I was crazy about doing, because again, it just broken my elbow, I got a pin in my arm. I said I wanted to do, and that really was a life lesson for me, because again, a lot of people told me, what you're trying to do, you know, you're going to put yourself back into a plaster cast, and it could have been, but this was a short-term goal that I wanted to do, and I ended up being able to, after many tries, to do a handstand, to do a backflip, and I built up my arm to have the strength by doing basically just by curling a can of beans, you know, just to get my arm back and full force. Then it went from curling a can of beans to getting a bag of sugar, and then it went on. And I remember putting myself into the gym, into my school, and doing gymnastics at the same time, doing my lunch break, giving up my lunch break to really devote myself into building my arm back up. And I found myself really, really growing. So then when I went to college, I was playing rugby, and bodybuilding was coming up. And I joined a local gym, and the local gym was a big powerlifters gym. So a lot of people were world champion powerlifters there, European champion lifters. And there's a couple of bodybuilders running around. So what I done was I ended up starting to powerlift to coincide with my rugby, to build myself up. But it was... there was something that was drawing me to bodybuilding. Again, there was no uncle, there was no cousin that really told me to actually get into the sport. But I remember seeing a poster, a Mr. Wales poster on the wall, And again, I started getting more and more, you know, into the whole sport, buying Flex magazines, as well as playing my rugby. And I ended up going up to watch my first ever bodybuilding show. And that's when I first seen Jordan Jones. On that bodybuilding stage, because he was the junior champion. He was the Welsh junior champion. And he was, for everybody who does know Jordan is obviously owner of UFit, and good friend of mine. We've known each other, my gosh, since we were 19 years old. And 36 now. And he was phenomenal, really phenomenal athlete. So, and I thought to myself, wow, this guy is nuts. There's no way I could beat him. Fast forward a year, I ended up start doing a little more bodybuilding and stuff like that. And I said to myself, the poster went back up on the wall. Gym owner said, if you do this show, I'll give you a free gym membership. And listen, I was in college, money was tight, fed, whatever. And I ended up doing the diet on my own and jumping into this bodybuilding show. And myself and John Jones competed for the first time together.
What was your diet like? What was your diet like back then without a nutritionist or a coach?
I picked up a Flex magazine and thought I knew better, and I took everything out. I looked, because back then it was like the diets were secrets, so they never really put much diets out. But I remember one diet was posted, and it was for a guy who was like 280 pounds. So I thought, okay, if I take this out, and I ended up doing like a depletion diet, which is like zero carbs, hardly any fats for like 10 weeks. So I was living hell. In the house. My mother and father probably can remember that first diet, which is probably the hardest, but I'm such a stubborn bugger. I wanted this free gym membership, and I would do anything for it. So I ended up doing the show, and me and Jordan stood on stage, and Neil Hill was the head judge. And for if you don't know who Neil Hill is my coach. So that's where we met. It was 17 years ago, and to this day, myself and Neil are still together. But he was the head judge. He judged myself and Jordan. I ended up beating Jordan. Jordan would probably say he got screwed, but I beat him.
Jordan did text me earlier. He said, him about the junior Mr. Wales, and was there a bit of controversy?
Oh, there was no controversy.
It was a fix.
Yeah. He is. He won't come on, no, because he knows the truth. No, but we had a great time. We went on then to the British, and Jordan looked even better at the British. And unfortunately, I started working with Neil at that point in time, and so did I. So we had a great battle. We went back and forth. But from there, we formed a great friendship. You know, a lot of people, you think about it, a lot of people could have really bashed heads, right? You know, Jordan, after winning the British, he actually reached out to me and he said, hey, listen, you know, congratulations, you know, and it was his last year as a junior at that point in time. I had one more year left. So he was like, listen, you know, you've got a lot of potential, good luck. I don't know if I'm going to compete again. And it was one of them things where I encouraged him to continue competing. Also, Jordan has been an entrepreneur all his life. You know, he's always been a businessman as far back as I can remember. I remember him driving an Audi TT when he was like 20 years old. This fucking guy. So him and I, again, he encouraged me to continue on to doing one more year in bodybuilding, and again, I encouraged him. And again, we've gone both obviously separate paths, but we've continued to stay friends. And I will say this, you know, with Jordan, he really could have gone on to be a very good pro. And I've said this to him many times. And obviously, Jordan being Jordan, he's very humble. But he would have gone on to be a very good pro. And I'm very happy with his success. You know, again, we've all gone in different paths. I've gone on to do what I'm doing and obviously living stateside. Jordan now is set up his multiple businesses here in Cardiff. So I'm very proud of him and what he's done with his career too.
Nice, mate. What was it like leading up to sort of your first competitions, and do you get nervous? Do you feel pressure? What was the preparation like? What do you remember about those first competitions?
I mean, I would be lying if I said I still don't get nervous. You know, I get nervous every single show I've competed in. I mean, it's just part and parcel of it. Even when I played rugby, I think the most detrimental thing for my career was my nerves, especially when I was running track and field, playing rugby. And then I choose a sport when I'm walking out on stage in my next to nothings. So, you know, with the bodybuilding side of things, it's all about making sure the job is done weeks ahead, 2 weeks out before the show. You know you're ready, and just come in and unveil the physique that you've been working on for the last couple of years and dieting for the last 20 weeks. So, you know, has confidence grown with more wins? I would say yes, but again, I think it's natural also to have nerves. Every single year I've stood against the best of the best, and every single year when I was a 212 for the last 7, you know, of the wins I've had, there's always been an athlete every single year that's you know, being raised up to beat me. So with 7 victories, there's been 7 athletes that are all coming to take my head off. So, you know, and like anything else, you know, I'm a big fan of MMA. If there's no hype, there's no show. So I can't. You've got to play the hype. You know, I love playing the hype. There's been times where, you know, I've messaged one of my friends who I compete against, and it's like, hey, listen, you know, you're my boy, but you know, we got to get moving on the hype, like. So yeah, let's talk some shit, you know. So it sells tickets, and it works. You know, it works. And again, listen, if the shoe was on the other foot and I was to lose a show, even though I know I've done everything in my power to win, I'd be the first person to shake that athlete's hand, because that's the way it's been brought up, you know. Thankfully, that's not happened, but you know, in the near future, hopefully not though.
Fingers crossed. What's for? I wouldn't have a clue, but what's your what was your favourite title? So obviously you've got 7 Olympias, which is unbelievable, regarded as the GOAT now in terms of number of wins and all that stuff. What one for you was the one that if you could pick any of them, what's the one that you would pick?
I would say there's no one. There really isn't one. I'll mention a few, and I'll give you probably the one that's on the top, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So winning my first was like justification that all the years of sacrifice, not just me, but everybody around me, all my team, that it was okay, we've done it, you know. The second year defending the title was solidified my first. It was like, okay, to me, and this is my mindset, you can't call yourself a champion until you defended it. That's my mindset. So even though I had won it the first year, that whole year I walked and talked and acted like the champion, but when I defended it, okay, I knew it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't for whatever other reason. And I would say the last one, the number 7, was the one that meant the most to me, because that ended my unbeaten career in the 212. And the last year, there was a lot of new young guys that came through, a lot of hype, a lot of shit talking, a multitude of different things. And I brought the best ever package on my last year. I really, really had to suck it into that class, because my body does not like the 212 class. It's really not meant to be in the 212 class anymore. And I don't know what the conversion is for 212. Yes. So I was really ready around about 220, 222. So I had to lose another 10 pounds. So when you look at my physique at 222, and you're like, man, I don't have 10 pounds to come off me. But, you know, thankfully I've got a phenomenal coach. And we found a way to just make in our weight. Because again, we're all in a sport based on sort of the eye of what looks the best physique wise.
Yeah.
But my class is based on a scale. So even though I physically looked my best at 222, 220, I had to suck it in to make that weight of 212. So it was incredibly hard, but I ended up doing it.
Well, talk to me about what a training week and diet and like how many calories you're on a day, what are you eating, what does that look like?
We don't count calories. I don't really get overly consumed in counting everything. I've just seen so many people just getting sucked into a bad way of lifestyle when you're counting calories 24/7. There's no enjoyment in life. You can't do shit. Bodybuilding is true. It's all. I eat a very, very controlled diet. I probably have, about 4 or 5 of the same things day in, day out. Bodybuilding, it really is consistency. It's very monotonous. I've been doing this, like I said, since I was 19. So I'm a machine at this point in time. Do I have balance to my life? Absolutely, yes. But I am not going to sit here and say that I count calories because I can justify eating a piece of cake or I can justify doing this and that. It's like, listen, if I want to eat a piece of cake, I'll fucking eat it. I work my ass off. But then when it comes to contest time, everything is weighed, everything is processed, and everything has, it's feeding for a workout and it's feeding after a workout. So it's fueling you for, fueling you after.
Yeah.
So my food choices have varied over the years, but right now I'm pre-eating a lot of red meat, a lot of chicken, and I'm fluctuating a little bit of turkey in between. Carbohydrate choices is really like rice, cream of rice, sweet potatoes, and fats is really coming from trace elements. Obviously, supplementation, fats, omegas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Peanut butter. But I love eating clean all year round.
Yeah.
So it's not that I have this complete different lifestyle in the off season come contest time, because a lot of bodybuilders do, a lot of athletes do.
You look at boxers, for example. Boxers will go up and down, up and down.
Yeah, perfect example. But when it comes to the lifestyle you live, quality calories, quality gains, and you mentioned boxers, I can name about 30 top MMA guys that have totally changed their mindset within the last 2 years of not having a nutritionalist to now having one, and having seen so much performance gained with their change in nutrition. It's been remarkable. It's prolonged their career. And again, a lot of these athletes would get up to your point, to a weight, and then they would try and dry themselves out, like 20 pounds, 15 pounds, 2 days before the fight. And it is not a good thing. So
it's dangerous.
In any case, very dangerous. Well, it also inhibits their ability to fight. And the mindset, the clarity of mind is gone. Because there's no way you can hydrate yourself within 24 hours, So with bodybuilding, we do it over a process of a number of weeks. So we're in striking range. So when I go to the Olympia, I have to be around about 215, 216 the week of the show. I go a week before to get into what's called boot camp. I get acclimated to the temperature. I get acclimated to the AC. The time difference, because when I live in Florida, it's 3 hours ahead of Las Vegas. So I get there, I acclimate, and I treat it just like you said, MMA boxing. Even my gym in Florida, I don't train in a public gym. I created the Dragon's Lair to take myself away from all that distraction, so I can solely focus on that title and defending it every single year. It's not open. My gym is not open to the public. It never will be. It's their sole purpose is for me to grow as an athlete, and also be able to control my environment. So I can shoot, I can film, I can have athletes, celebrities come in and train, and we can do cross promotion and a lot of stuff. So It's again, I take a lot of what is used in boxing and MMA, and I integrate it into my world of bodybuilding. I'm probably one of the only guys that are doing it.
I mean, I absolutely love the mindset, and that you've got obviously that clarity, that vision to be the best in whatever it is that you want to do. What is training like for you? What do you do? How often are you training? You know, is it purely weights? You doing cardio as well? What are you up to?
At this point in time, cardio is really not at the forefront.
Yeah.
We're trying to get in as much quality calories in. But I do like getting out and walking around. When I live here in Florida, I back up to the Everglades. So
lovely.
If I was to walk about 10 minutes up the street, I'd be seeing alligators, snakes. If you guys follow me on my morning walks, then you would be able to you would know that I don't know what I'm going to see when I'm walking up the path. So
yeah,
I love walking, getting up in the morning, walking with my daughter. But training has never changed. We do the same thing day in, day out. Like I said, it's Groundhog Day. Nothing changes. There is, I would say, a season in bodybuilding, but I don't look at it like that. Nothing changes. We train hard all year round. And even when I had a sort of weight restriction, I never did look at it as a weight restriction. I still nothing, because so people be like, oh, so what are you going to do to make sure that you make the weight next year? Just diet hard. When it comes to diet hard, because if I had to change my training to make the 212 class, bodybuilding is done for me. Okay. I love going in the gym. I love training hard. I love training heavy. My training partners are open class athletes. Yeah. So, and I like to be the one that puts the heart back to front and lead from the front, you know? So nothing has ever changed my training. I've always trained this way. Would I have probably less injuries if it changed it anyway? Yeah, but would I be as developed and as a champion? I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. You know, there's a mentality. There's a reason why I've got to where I am. And it's not about me being cocky or confident. Sorry, it's not being cocky or anything like that. It's about being confident. To train a style, you have to really go into that gym and know that every single day you're putting your life, you know, in a situation, you know what I mean? Meaning where, you know, there's a lot of weight in your back. Can you do this? And if that person on your shoulder is saying, no, it's too heavy, well, sorry.
You've lost already.
For this sport. No, you got to get in. And that's why I surround myself with certain mentalities. You know, at my gym, I got two great training partners. One has come from New York 2 years ago. One has just come in from Brazil 6 months ago. And two different guys. One is an old school guy and one is new blood. And the old school guy has been doing it for a very long time. He has many different strengths in different areas. And then that's John Del Rosa. And then Rafael Brando, who is the young up-and-coming future of the sport. He's a hungry athlete who is chasing a championship, and he's never won it. So that is a hungry athlete to be around. So me being where I am, having won all these titles, you know, or you could look at it and go, oh, you can get complacent. But when you have athletes around you that are both, you know, pushing you into new directions, it's like, man, it keeps the lion, the king of the pack, fucking hungry. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why.
It seems like you love the process, and you love that side of things. What's harder, getting to the top or staying at the top?
Two different battles, and that's a very, very good question. Getting to the top when chasing had its ups and downs and pitfalls and trials and tribulations. When you get to the top, you realize two things. You have to you have to evolve, or you lose. So every single year I had to evolve. Every single year I had to find the reason why. After one, after two, you know, first one, you know, you win it. Two is defending it. Okay, well, what's three? What's four? It's all about evolving. Okay, because once you start maxing out that class, And I maxed out that class about at 4. So then I had to re-establish why I was chasing. What was the reason? And I can tell you now, number 1 was obviously chasing that title. Number 2 was defending that title. Number 3 was the 50th year anniversary. Number 4, we found out, my wife was pregnant. So that was a whole 50 year I never had. Number 5 was getting my daughter up on that stage. I had this vision in my head when I was a junior, 19 years old, of bringing my daughter up on stage for a picture as the Mr. Olympia champion. And number 6, Dallas, my little brother, he passed away. And I was going to retire after number 6. And that kicked me in the teeth. You know, it was unexpected, and it was just a sidetrack for the whole industry. So when I went back to the drawing boards and I really got my head around doing another one, number 7 was going to be the one that I was going out on. But again, that's just me saying that easy off the cuff. There's so many storylines that intertwined in between that 7. That really...
There's a couple of things you mentioned I want to pick up on. You've mentioned a load of times about your team. How big's your team, and how important are they for you to stay on track?
Well, to me, loyalty is everything, right? Loyalty is a word that's thrown around by so many people now that is fucking bullshit. It's just bullshit. Loyalty is proving it. Prove to me, as I will prove to you, when shit hits the fan, we're there for one another. You know, I mentioned it just now. When Dallas passed, you realized who was there and who wasn't. Yeah. Not that I was using that as a pinnacle to everything, but that really was a moment where I realized there was a lot of people who said they were a team, but they weren't. But even prior to that, you know, I come up the hard way. When I came to the US, I knew one person. Everybody sees the success I have now. You know, when people want to, if they want to nitpick of, you know, what they see I have, or they might see, I don't post stuff, and that's not me. I think it's a dick move. But if somebody sees that I'm driving my car, or the house, or the gym, or whatever else, you know, they say, oh, that must be nice. It's like, listen, you can have it too. I come from the same cloth as you do. The difference is when I wake up in the morning, I put my hat back to front and I fucking work. You know, I have a 4-year-old, probably you know, there's people that have kids too, or they have the mentality of, well, I can't do it now because I've got kids. It's like, even more so, change your kids' lives. Yeah, of course. My goal right now is to make sure that I set a legacy in this sport, and also make moves out of the sport that make sure that my kids' kids are taken care of. Yeah. I'm going off the point here a little bit. Sorry. No. No, mate. Honestly, it's perfect. Yeah. This is where I want to get to. When I do these sort of talks to people, I want to get into their mindset and their psyche, but also what they're like away from actually what they're doing day to day as well. So you know, your business interests and what you like, what you get up to, and it's fascinating to see, mate. So keep on. There was. Oh, sorry. Well, I was going to say, am I right in saying your wife was bikini competitor? Yeah, she won the bikini Miss USA. So has that helped you in the fact that you've got 2 of you in the house that understand what it takes to get to that level of aesthetic, essentially? Yeah. So when I met my wife, she was really at the tail end of her career. She probably wouldn't even say that, but she competed. She won, you know, and I'm not going to skip over it. She won some pro shows. She was very good. Yeah. But she is an academic scholar. For her, the training she loved, committing herself to a process she loved, but she's an academic. She's the furthest thing from me. She loves school. She she went to UF and she studied nutrition, dietetics. She studied business. So when we got together, she was on the tail end of finishing off her schooling. And we talked about possibly competing together, possibly. But in the end, there was an evolution of her class and the girls started changing a little bit. So there wasn't really no point. And then obviously, as the years went on, we both found out that obviously Ali she was pregnant. So that sort of changed things a little bit there. But yes, to answer your question, it definitely helped. I would say like just not having to explain, because again, I've dated girls in the industry and I've dated girls outside the industry, many years back. But when we got together, she understood the whole process, and of course, she didn't understand me she didn't meet me when I was at the start of my career. She sort of met me just as I was peaking in. In fact, we got together the year just actually after I came second in the 202 class. The 202 class was just before the 212.
Yeah.
And then the 212 class the 202 class moved up to 212. So it was renamed the 212-pound class.
Yeah. What's that? 95, 96K?
I think it's in the 90s, yes. Now, listen, I live in the US now, so I don't know. I don't talk stone and I don't talk kilos. But yeah, so when we got together, that was 8 years ago. She's kind of my lucky charm because I haven't lost plugging it in.
Technology. Technology.
Amateur.
Mate, what's a couple of questions actually I had while you're off. So what's the obviously you retired from 212 in 2018, is that right? What's I've seen that you're looking obviously to come back into the Open then. What weight are you looking to come back in for 2020?
To be honest, we are not putting that like a number out there, but obviously it's going to be in the 220s, I believe. There's nothing that, there's going to be like, at this point in time, like my body has gone all the way up as high as 250. So it's the first time I've really had a chance to have an off season in a long time. First of all, let me just obviously tell everybody that's jumping back on. Thank you very much, guys, for your patience. The fact that your boy doesn't know how to charge his phone. In my defense, I do use my phone a lot, and I need it. I've blown through all these Morphes and phone chargers and stuff. And today I was like, when I got back home, I was like, okay, I gotta find this bloody charger before I get back on. And I managed to boost it up until about halfway, and I don't know where the hell the time's gone and the battery. So, to sort of pick up what I was saying, the show this year is a crazy one. I don't know how much you follow the sport or you don't, but this year's Olympia is going to be held in September. And of course, with all this coronavirus, a lot of athletes that normally would qualify for the Olympia, unfortunately, have to move their shows. A lot of athletes, including my training partners, both had to change their shows this year. Rafael Branda was training for the Arnold Brazil, and he was I believe like 6 weeks out before the show when they had to cancel that. And John was competing for a show that was supposed to happen in May. Both of these shows would have qualified them for the Olympia, and a number of shows that are also cancelled in the duration that is happening right now. Also now I've left the Olympia qualifications up in the air. So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I really believe the Olympia still will happen. And I'm just worried for the athletes who have to now qualify for that show. So August is a time where they have their chance to qualify. But obviously there's only 4 weeks in August, right? So you have 4 chances to qualify unless there's multiple qualifications that are going to be happening on that time. So, the Olympia this year is definitely one that is surrounded with this order of, will it happen? Will it not happen? I mean, in my mindset, it's happening. But a lot of these athletes now are on the edge of like, well, do I start my prep now to qualify in August, or are we going to be told that there's no show going on again? So I mean, listen, and in all respect to when I say this, I'm just talking about the sport. Obviously, this thing is a worldwide crisis. So,
yeah, of course, of course.
This is just obviously based on the question you asked me. So it's a crazy time to be alive, right?
Definitely. What's picking up on what you said about the guys obviously having shows cancelled and opportunities potentially missed now? For yourself, how have you ever dealt with setbacks? And obviously, you know, you mentioned about your brother and getting injured, and everyone deals with it differently. What's your mindset around major setbacks, and how do you stay? You seem like a really energetic and fun and happy-go-lucky kind of guy. How do you stay there and take yourself back there when things go wrong?
Multiple things. I have a lot of people around me that don't sugarcoat shit. So there's been times I've caught myself doing it. It's like, oh, you know, life's unfair, or you know what I mean. You know, I've got an injury, boo-hoo. Very, you know, cold love. It's just like, get back in your saddle. Let's find a way around it. You know, there's something that nobody knows is going on right now. I got a dislocated wrist. My wrist is completely popped out. I've been training for the last 3 weeks on it. There's no chiropractor. There's no person that can put no massage therapist that can put my wrist back in. So what have I got to do? Sit back in the house and moan about it? No. I get in there. I wrap myself up until I can't feel my hand, and I fucking train. It is what it is.
Mate, that's clean up.
Hey, it seriously, I cannot put the flexibility in this one compared to this one. I can't put a dumbbell in it. I have to have the boys put it on. But once it's in, I can find a way of just comfortability and just press. So, you know, it's one of them things. You know, it's like I wasn't sugar-coated shit when I grew up. You know, I'm being very blessed. I think that is the number one thing. The number one thing as to why I have this mentality is the blue-collar work ethic that was installed in me from my mother and father, grandparents, and everybody else. That is number one. You know, and that's something you can't read in a book. You can't look on fucking YouTube. No. This is something that's been born into me, in my blood. And then when you've got certain memories, obviously I'm not going to talk about them right now, but when you've got certain memories that from your childhood or whatever else, and you see what your parents had to do to just you know, put you in school trips or fun runs and, you know, all this stuff, it's like, fuck, well, what have I got to complain about right now?
Well, mate, love that. That's class. Where I've got some questions here from a few people, so I'm gonna just gonna fire some over. I just wanted, before that, I just wanted to get your thoughts. I know that you're sponsor, you've got a CBD sponsor, and it's something that I know. One of my mates has got a company, so I see quite a bit of the promotion from it. What's your thoughts on it, and how does it help you?
Oh, it's helped me tremendously. I've seen so many athletes that, so many rugby players have turned to, you know, ibuprofen or ibuprofen, as we call it in the UK, American, and, you know, just all the various different painkillers to help them just, you know, after a rugby game, you pop 3, you go out in the piss, whatever else. It's a kidney killer, you know, so this is really, again, rugby, bodybuilding, we take bangs, we take knocks, and obviously I'm only correlating my past life, you know, my rugby days to my bodybuilding. I know how I felt when I come off of the field, and I know how I feel when I've had a crazy good week in the gym. I really utilize my rest days. I have a Wednesday and a Saturday that I take off. Obviously, I don't do, you know, it's like I'm lounging around the house. I'm still a business guy, so I'm still doing stuff, but I'm not training. I'm not breaking down my body. Of course. So this is when I utilize my recovery days. So full circle back into your question, CBD, well, CBDMD was my sponsor. They approached me in their infancy stage. And they're the biggest company right now in the USA. They have golfers, they have motocross guys. I mean, they've got people like Ken Block. They've got all the top UFC fighters. I'm the guy who representing the bodybuilding side of things. Surfing, skateboarding, BMXing, you name it, extreme sports. They knew that I'm a big advocate of CBDMD, and I was utilizing it. You know, I even have my mother on it right now, you know, so I believe in it. I've seen it I've seen it enough for me to promote it to my family.
Yeah, you believe in it.
Just the pains, the aches and pains. Again, listen, this is not a painkiller, but it definitely reduces inflammation tremendously. Again, it's not a pill. It's not from a pharmaceutical company. This has come from a plant, you know, and for this to be banned or a taboo for so many years is crazy. Now, obviously, the general public can buy it in different places and stuff like this. And the stigma is gone. But for many years, you know, this has been pushed away from the general public because obviously pharmaceutical companies wanted to really push forefront on a lot of their stuff. But CBD most definitely is a daily use for me. Yeah.
What sort of supplements would you take in a day away from the CBD?
A variety of different things. I start my day off with a multivitamin. I take vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D. I have omegas, different things for you know, just the general you know, vitamins every single day. So I would have things for my kidney, things for my liver. And that this is the morning. Throughout the day, then I take digestive enzymes to really aid with a lot of the food, because I've increased my meals tremendously from the 212. You know, talking about the diet side of things, I went from being a 212 guy where I sucked it into a weight class to now force feeding myself to get up into a weight class. So digestive enzymes are a big part in that. And then you know, pre-workout, post-workout. I mean, when you talk about it, it sounds a lot, but you know, I've been doing the same thing for the last 19 years, just in different formats. Knowledge is power, of course, and as the years have gone on, I realized that I can't eat certain things, I can't drink certain things. I built an intolerance up to certain protein shakes. So for all these years, I was drinking like 3 protein shakes a day. I rarely drink a protein shake now. What I do drink, obviously, is a completely different thing. So I'm sponsored by a company called Yamamoto Nutrition. And to me, they're the best company. And I'm not just saying it, but they do a lot of a lot of science in their products. They own the pharmaceutical company. So they have a lot of fermented products that top of the range, quality, batch tested, shipped from Japan, batch shipped, so tested before, tested when they get there. And again, this is my world, right? So somebody that's coming maybe just from the outset and listening to this, be like, oh, but protein is protein. It isn't. It isn't. You know, it's like buying a shoe. You know, you could have you know, a Jordan that you spend a fortune on, or you could go to, you know, to the market and buy like fucking £2, like, you know. So so you know what I'm trying to say, and what shoe is gonna, you know, be the benefit for you. So listen, that was off the cuff then too. I didn't even think about it. I never heard about that analogy before, but you get my point, right? So this
of course.
So and my past history with companies. I'm very loyal to the companies that I've been with. I was with Gaspar Nutrition for 7 years, and then that was at the tail end of my career. Sorry, the tail end of the 212, the 202. I mean, and I didn't know where I was going to go. I started realizing my worth. I started asking for an increase, and unfortunately, they couldn't do it. And then BSN, this company BSN, which was the biggest company in the world at that point in time, a life-changing offer, and it was something I couldn't really ignore. And they realized my brand and my worth. And now going back to the business side of things, you know, we're all racehorses, and it's how many races these racehorses got. So you know, the check and the life-changing offer was there for me and my family at the time, and I was with that company for a number of years until I decided that the company got purchased and it went into a different direction that I wanted to remain in. So I took a whole year away from not even being sponsored. I started a couple of businesses up. I lived off what would be my savings. And for me, I take a great pride in in knowing my brand and being affiliated and associated with certain companies.
Yeah.
So fast forward to where I am now. I took a year off. I ended up working on a couple of businesses in the meantime, making sure that they have my full attention and they weren't clouded in by other companies. And then I signed with Yamamoto. I signed with Monster. I signed with CBDMD, and I've got a couple other sponsors. But a lot of my sponsors now are out of the sport of bodybuilding because that's the direction that I'm really marketing myself in and around.
What do you get up to then away from training and the business side of things? What do you enjoy doing? You said about your daily walks. Are you into music, films? You know, what are you into?
I would joke and say I live like two lives. I would be at this point in time on the road a lot. So I'd be away from my family for a couple of weeks at a time, a week here, back home for a week, 2 weeks there. But when I am home, obviously when I'm on the road, I'm flex 24/7.
Yeah.
I can find, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my appearances, I'm traveling, I'm flex. When I'm home, it's nice to be James, be with my family, be with my child. It's daddy mode, right? So my daughter is 4 years old now and she's growing up so fast. It's a daily reminder. And to be honest, you know, if there was a positive that can be seen from this time is just how fast I've seen my daughter growing up, because we're together so much. She's not in school and coming home, and I'm seeing her like a few hours before, and then a few hours before she goes to sleep at night. There's no 24, you know, we're together all the time, other than when I can train. And I've seen just how much she's grown in the 4 years that she's been on this earth. So it's my family, man. My family, you know, obviously my family back in Wales, they was actually, my mother and father would have been here right now. They were supposed to, and 1 week before, when it's sort of getting bad over here in the US, we decided to be safe and cancel the flights. Obviously it was a good reason. I mean, we're glad we done that. But family to me is a big, massive, you know, massive thing. It's a part of my, you know, again, I'm here on my own, other than the last 8 years being with Ali. So it was an investment for me. And of course, it's hard for my parents being in Wales, being the oldest boy, I'm sure, to get up and go and not know what their son is doing and how it is actually succeeding. So, you know, there was good times and bad times. I had to persevere through and be where I am. But rounding it back up to what I was saying, you know, I've done this really to make sure that not only has my life progressed on, but my family's life has progressed on too. And that being said, there's a roll-off effect now. Now I'm here and I have stability. I have a grounded life. I had my brother, Luke, come over, and he was a semi-professional rugby player for Llandovery, captain of the team too, took the team to the top of the league, won the title, and he ended up retiring on that. Still young buck, but he wanted to come over to the US and pursue his goal and his dream of being a strength and conditioning coach. So he came here, went through school, put himself through school, was living in my house for 2 and a bit years, but he was phenomenal. Didn't really see him much. He was always working. He was investing his personal time into actually going to American Top Team, working with a lot of the top UFC stars there. And now he just is working now at he's just, again, I don't know if this is public knowledge, but he's just had a job offered to him to be a full-time at Penn State. And Penn State in the US is top of the top. So now he's a strength and conditioning side with the rugby and a few other different things in Penn State University. So that there's no higher accolade for that. So it's great to see my brother come here, be like, oh, listen, go through the same stages as me. I hope what I'm doing is going to pay off. And I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then go on to see him do that too.
That's brilliant, mate. So what's, again, a lot of what you say is all about mindset and stuff. Because obviously you put yourself out there as Flex, and you mentioned about, well, obviously you've got Flex and you've got James. Do you get a lot of social media sort of trolling or online abuse, or even in person maybe? And does it affect you, or how do you deal with it? Do you bite back? Like, what's that like for you?
That's what I do. I go, there's some shit bags that I've written on this page right now. So
I've seen a couple.
I would definitely love to reply, but unfortunately they're sitting in their mommy's basement and they've got nothing better to do than talk shit. It's like, listen, just focus at your life, right? For me, I got a lot of shit from a very young age because of my nickname. I got into the sport, and there was already a legend called Flex Wheeler.
Okay.
So I had to go against that from a very young age, you know. And there was a point in time where people would not accept my nickname, and I was like, listen, I actually, it was my mother that said, "You've been called Flex all your life." I've been called Flex all through school, all through from the teachers to again, if I was a naughty kid, my name would be Flex Lewis on the tannoy. Come to the office, headmaster's office. There was nobody knew me as James. Listen, if I sat in the class and they called James Lewis, I would move. I was called Flex, and even to this day, like, there's only a few people that call me James, and if I hear them hear me called James, then I'm like, oh shit, you know, I'm in trouble. yeah, exactly. So so Flex has been my name. So I had a lot of shit from the very young age, and I just had to persevere. You know, the only way to persevere is just to bite your tongue and keep on working. Yeah. You know, show them with work ethic. It's like, I'm not here to steal somebody else's legend or somebody else's his name, because I know Flex on a personal level now. Yeah. He is just an amazing athlete. Nobody can ever take away his successes, because he is who he is, and I am who I am. You know, with two different people from two different parts of the world. I have my story, and he has his story, and he actually picked up his nickname from being a very good mixed martial artist, and then coming into sport of bodybuilding. So, you know, we share the name now. You know, and actually, I think we have a little running joke, but he has a little running joke. I'm sorry. He says, you know what? Both of us are not the real Flex. The real Flex is my son, because he's actually called his son Flex. So we are nicknames. His son is the real Flex. So we set it up right there and then.
Class. Yeah. What have you ever been offered to do sort of anything outside of the bodybuilding, so UFC or any sort of like mixed martial arts or anything like that? Anyone ever approached you for anything like
that? To fight?
Yeah.
No, man. Look how pretty this face is. Let's be honest. I don't want to.
Handsome man.
Let's be honest. Everybody who's watching right now, I'm sure you all are looking hella messy, and you're all gonna fall in love with your barbers and your hairdressers when all this ends. Let's be honest.
I got nothing here.
Yeah, well, you're lucky. Yeah, this thing is going out of control at the moment, but I'm trying to do my best for you guys. Shit, what was the question? I've gone all over the bloody place now. What was the question?
So have you ever been approached for almost like a different career change?
No, listen, there's never gonna there's no chance of me restarting a sport. Mixed martial arts is, because it's one of my favorite sports. You know, with rugby, it's so. I mean, it's chess. You know, if you took it and broke it up into so many different aspects, you've got stand-up game, you have boxing coaches, you have BJJ that focuses just on that, you have wrestling, you have so many different sectors, and you have to get all them sectors, compile them all together, and be a mixed martial artist. Hence the word mixed martial artist. And for me to go in and retrain to be an athlete, it wouldn't happen. And also, you know, my body's beat. You know, my body's not meant to be put into a position. You know, back in the day, if I started very young and we started training and whatnot, I could have gone into a different direction. I done boxing long enough to know that I was too short to be fighting in boxing. My legs were so big, even when I was like 14, 15, that I was fighting guys that were, you know, 5'10", 5'8".
Yeah.
I'm so short. So I realized there and then that even if I was to go into one of them sports, because my weight is so much in my legs, I'd be fighting at a category that wouldn't be conducive. So I have mad respect for different athletes doing, for many different athletes in so many different sports. But again, my interest now is moving more into different sectors. There's a lot of opportunities that have presented themselves over here. Some stuff I can't talk about because it's a whole different world. But you know, bodybuilding is not going to be, you know, the end chapter to Flex Lewis. You know, I have to, just like I done with the 202 and 212 and many other different things, even talking, even having conversations like this, I had to evolve into that different chapter. So here we are now, you know, having this conversation. But if I thought about this when I was 19 years old, you know, talking to 10,000 people, having a live call and stuff like that, I'd be, maybe I'll just not do this sport, because I didn't realize how much media came as part of it as the years go on. The more you win, the more you have to talk. The more, you know, the higher you climb, the more you have to represent and get in front of the camera and talk to the mainstream, get on this channel, get on the news, whatever. So that's what we do right now, is we're juggling, especially during this time, juggling all the media obligations, seeing what is good for me and what isn't good. But UFit is good for me. Come on, the Welsh.
Talking of media, do you ever get anything like films or anything like? Obviously, you look at like what Arnie did, and there's loads of sports stars who then go into sort of acting in films. Is that something that you've been approached about, or have done much?
Yeah, I've done a couple of documentaries, and we're in talks right now for another one. It's all business.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that's all I can talk about. We're moving in different directions. We're moving in different
we'll leave that there, pal.
Yeah. So, hey, I love being that little cheeky charm, you know, from Wales over here. They love the energy, they love the beer, they love the accent. I'm the Welsh Conor McGregor, they told me, I'm bodybuilding. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I think it is. They love it. So they, you know, I try not to do anything but be me. So, and I feel like that is working over here. Again, humility is my number one thing, I believe, you know, that I was brought up right. I respect everybody. You know, there's not a handshake I won't give, you know, to somebody, because again, I've either worked that job myself or I know somebody who has.
Of course.
That doesn't make them any lesser than me, because I was at one point in time wanting to get up to that next level. And that next level has come from so many different jobs that I've had of old, you know, so I won't even go into it, but I've done a lot of jobs, and a lot of jobs that many people don't know about. But again, you got to get fucking, you know, you got to get into things to reevaluate what you really want, you know, and you can also tell yourself, okay, this is for the short term, this is not for the long term. You're not sitting on your hands in the house. If you work, you know, you're working closer to either saving up for something to then progress you on to the next step. And that's the mentality I always had, and my parents will attest. You know, when I worked, you know, actually somebody just commented right now, I used to work in Photo Lab in Tesco. I think I was steward, I used to work with him. So there was a many years where I'd done a lot of different jobs, but it was saving up for something. It wasn't saving up for the piss or going out to do whatever else. It was saving up for a plane ticket to go back to the US, coming back home, saving up my money again. You know, every job
there was
I
a goal.
It was a goal. There was a fire dream, and I've said this multiple times, but I think it really pertains to this situation. You know, there's been many goals that I've set forth, right? But the life that I'm living right now was a dream. But now I'm here. But now I'm living this dream. I've put many more goals down, and I put many more dreams. Now, if I told you what I'm going for right now in life, you think I'm fucking crazy. But also, if I told you that I'd be 7-time Mr. Olympia when I was 19, you'd also have told me I'm fucking crazy. It is what it is. But there's been many goals set in place to get up to where I am today, and a lot of people don't believe in that path. But trust me, every goal is not like, oh, it can't be obtained. It could be as small as, okay, you want to lose weight, right? You want to have a whole new look to yourself. Get up in the morning. Put one foot forward in front of the other. You're making a goal. Yeah. Then get outside. Walk 10 minutes in one direction. 10 minutes back. That's another goal. You know, my mother, she can't go to a gym or anything like that. But she's just lost now about 20 pounds. You know, she does it all herself. She doesn't even ask advice from me and from Ali. She's just done it because she wants to feel better. She knows that the less weight she's carrying, that's unnecessary, is going to benefit her life, you know. And we're all sitting at home right now, you know, looking at fucking EastEnders of Coronation Street, or maybe watching this live, eating hobnobs and everything else. I'd love to be there too. But if you do have that aspired goal, tomorrow morning, just be like, fuck, let's go. Because there never is, oh, let's start next week, because when next week happens, there's always another excuse. And again, you know, I don't want to say that my mindset is better than anybody else's, because I've had to train my mindset to get to this level, because I'm against savages. These guys I stand against, they don't give a shit about my injuries. They don't give a shit about, you know, how good my life is going or how bad they're going. Yeah. They there to win the title. They're there to take money, and so am I. So that's why I with the whole, going back to the whole risk thing, is it's like, they don't, nobody's slowing down for me, you know. So I just have to keep going. No excuses.
Love that, mate. That's class. Love that. I've got some questions here. I think there's a sort of 10, 12 questions from some of the UFit followers. So Jack Tatum, what's your views on push-pull legs versus your bro splits?
I don't do no push-pull at all.
No.
It's nothing against it. I just never. I've trained a lot of training styles. Yeah. But I've never done a push-pull. My whole week is really been set down and based for the last number of years. So I can tell you my split right now. I train legs on a Monday. I train legs on a Sunday. I train chest on a Monday. I train arms on Wednesday, Tuesday. I take off on Wednesday. On Thursday, I train back. On Friday, I train shoulders. And on Saturday, I take off.
Class, love that.
Restart again.
And it's just that consistency every single week.
Yeah, and I throw hamstrings in on a double day, maybe on a Tuesday. Okay. I give my quad, so I hit a predominantly, I would say, 90-10 quad hamstring ratio. And then on Tuesday, I would hit the little hamstring just on its own as a split day. But that's been set in stone for a number of years. Normally, I would do hamstrings and quads in the same day, but I've started splitting them up over the last 8 months, and I've seen the benefit of that.
And that comes from experience rather than someone telling you what to do. You know how your body works and reacts to your training. So that experience comes
obviously my coach, Neil Hill, and me work together since 17, for the last 17 years. And he actually has moved in book to book for the last, I think, two of the last 17 years. So I see him in the gym all the time. We run through different things, but in training, we've never had to change anything because it's the same. So it's not like I'm going to him and saying, hey, let's do this or let's do that, Of course, if there's travel days and I'm on the road and I'm coming back and I land, late in the evening, I'm not going to be able to chance to train legs on a Sunday, just as an example. So we might push that day back and we'll start doing legs on a Monday. But as soon as that week is over, will catch back up, so it's back up to yeah.
Class, mate. Cat's pajamas. So she got a couple of questions. So her coach you've mentioned a little bit of this. Her coach focuses on what her why is when motivation might not be there, or it's a bit of a low day or whatever. What's your why?
Family.
Yeah. Simple as that. Everything's for them.
Everything right now. I mean, I've got all these titles next to me, but you know, I give it all up if there was an issue with my family. You know, it's a different mindset. My family fuel me for the family, and my family fuel me for the future too. So you take that big nucleus out. There's a massive motivational issue in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense, mate. What's the dumbest bodybuilding myths that you have heard, which are complete bollocks?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's a good one for that. Let me think. Let me circle back with me on that, and
I'll come back to it.
Questions, yeah.
No problem, mate. So whether someone's sort of placed or not placed at one of these shows, what advice would you give them for that post-competition blues and that lull after you've got the high of competing and then that little dip after? What sort of advice would you give to someone for that?
Everybody goes through it. I went through it on my first show, and I probably went through it on my last show. That you put so much into one show, your whole day is consumed. Everything is about that one particular day and that moment. And come you know, win, lose, you still have them post-show blues once everything is just be taken away from you. You know, I would say advice is just if it's not a bodybuilding show, or if it's not, you know, again, I want to sound redundant, but set forth something that you want to really do. You know, shows bodybuilding has taught me many different things, but one of them is the consistency to chase something. Every day must count. Every food choice that goes in your body is taking you closer to that destination or that victory. Now, if you could put that into life, if you wanted to open a business, what would you do tomorrow? What would be the first step? Now, what would you do to make sure that company is marketed? Who would you go and reach? What would you do? So every day, you know, again, take the meal choices out and replace them with things in the day that can be done. And your life is going to change. You know,
there's a lot of
sorry?
I was going to say there's a lot of transferable skills there, no matter whether it's business or sport.
A lot, because it's all a tenacious attitude of success. It's a hunger to get to the end cap. And what we need to do. You know, I know my day is mapped out ahead of me because it's pretty much the day that I've done before. It's consistency. It's the same bloody shit. Now, in business, or start. I know I transcend a lot of the stuff to business, but it's easily relatable. Yeah. You could put that goal of the end destination and map everything out the day before. Yeah. To get that closer. And a lot of people be like, oh well, I don't understand. Okay, let's say it in terms of being a better dad. If you're having a strange relationship with your mum or your daughter, your son, it's like, what can I do tomorrow that can bring me closer to that person? Yeah. There's an effort that needs to happen, right? It's an effort that needs to happen, and you need to put your first foot down to get closer to that end result. So I don't know, I've given you two different variables, the business side and the personal relationship side. By the way, there's no issue with me and my mother.
Look, I think it's quite relatable because obviously a lot of the people who are watching and listening now, they'll be working or they'll be in uni, they'll be students, they'll have something going on outside of the gym and the training which they work towards, whether they realise that or not. So I think it's relatable talking, business and sport. So it makes sense to me, mate. What 3 bits of advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Do you know what? That's such a loaded question. But everything that has happened to me of old has made me into who I am. All the failures, all the trials and tribulations, all the relationship breakups, all the contracts that I've lost, all the contracts I've had, all the injuries, you know, all the hardships of training for a show, putting everything in, and I didn't win, to then having, you know, the undefeated record I do. It's always one of that's something I thought about. What would I say to my younger self? Would I say, don't be a bitch? But
would you change anything?
No. Listen, I've gone through a lot of hardships. This road to success has not been easy. You know, again, I say people will see what you've got, but they never seen the road that's been taken. So I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. You know, everything I've done in my life, I've learned from, good and bad, and it all makes me the humble champion I am. I've never had a straight shot success. You know, if I've seen it, if there's been a straight shot to success, you have a lot of people that jump on the bandwagon. You're great. You're the fucking future. You're this. You're that. But if you've had a humble upbringing, not just from the aspects of your parents, but the humble upbringing as opposed to somebody who might have been given a silver spoon, you appreciate it a lot more. So now I'm on top. I know what it's taken me to get on top, and I'm very appreciative of the journey I've had.
If it was easy, I suppose everyone would do, wouldn't they? And they wouldn't have that gratitude then.
People can't diet for more than a week, you know, but then they want to look like somebody on Instagram. So, you know, there's a lot of, going back to what you're saying, there's a lot of people who will put it down to one or two things, or three or four things, you know, but the problem is that they've not even attempted, not even put a foot in the world that athletes that are watching this do, you know, CrossFitters, you know, bodybuilders, athletes and rugby players, football players, whatever, you name it. You know, they want to talk shit about, you know, the various, like, oh, you suck on the field, bro, and or you know, CrossFit is shit or whatever else. It's like, they never done it. Number one, they don't have the skill, and if they did, they wouldn't be sitting on live trying to talk shit, you know. And again, I know I sort of touched on this subject earlier. I've had my fair share of social media haters, but I would say it's a very small percentage. I know a lot of other athletes that get a lot of shit. I don't talk shit. I try to be as respectable as I can to all athletes from around the world. And that then flips back on me, where if somebody does try to say something about me, my fans and followers and friends from around the world will drop kick this guy.
He'll fly into him.
I have to do shit. You know, if you treat people with respect, and you are the guy that they see on Instagram and in real life, then, you know, they will defend your honor when some shitbag wants to talk shit about you. So it is what it is.
Loyalty, mate. Love that. Stephen Mort, what's your main, I think you've mentioned this quite a bit now, what's your main source of inspiration? Obviously, you've said your family comes first. That's what's driving you 24/7. What's the difference, the biggest difference now in your prep for the open class Olympia compared to your 2-on-2?
Just the off season.
Is it?
Nothing has changed. I still eat the same, other than the bigger meal contents. Oh, so much food. Talking of which, my meal is coming up soon, so I got to bounce. But I have a lot of food to consume now compared to the starvation I used to do with the 212. So again, stuck in weight for 10 years, and now all of a sudden the door has been opened where it's like, okay, this is your meal. You know, I felt like all of the twist before, and now I'm feeling like Charlie, what's his name, Augusta from the Charlie Chocolate Factory, where I've gone from two different spectrums of starvation, here's your plate, can I have some more, Coach Neil, to now off season of having to get that food in me all the time. So it's a different life now, different life. And again, preaching about consistency, that's why I said I'm looking at the clock. If I miss a meal time, it transcends into the next and the next and the next. Everything is planned, everything is timed. So again, that's the lifestyle I'm living right now.
I'll get one more question. I'll let you go and get your grub, pal. Ian Christopher asked, who's the hardest working, most intense bodybuilder or non-bodybuilder that you've trained with?
Oof. Well, I would say I've trained with a lot of athletes, a lot of bodybuilders over the years. I would say the craziest, strongest, and this is obviously what he's known for, is Mr. Intensity, is Branch Warren. Branch Warren, in his prime, I trained with Branch Warren a number of times. We were both sponsored by the same company at one point in time, and we traveled the world. And of course, after working in Expo, we would go to the various gyms. I've seen that guy break pieces of equipment in people's gyms, where we were welcomed with both arms in a hardcore gym, by the way, welcomed with both arms into a gym, and he broke a handle off a piece of equipment. The next thing, I broke something because we were training so heavy in this place. We were sort of not encouraged to come back the next day. But then we went back a year later, and on the wall was this Branch Warren, Flex Lewis broke these handles in 2000 or whatever it was. So anyway, yeah, Branch was and still is an absolute monster. He is very close to it in my height, but my gosh, in weight, he's far out there. He was probably one of the denser, crazy, graininess bodybuilders of all time, and just a beast. Of course, he trained in the same gym as Ronnie Coleman. So when Ronnie Coleman was in prime, Branch Warren was coming into the beginning stages of his career. So imagine seeing Ronnie Coleman day in, day out, throwing crazy amounts of weight in that gym. And then, you know, you're there many years later. And then as Branch, probably trained with Ronnie, I trained with Branch. So yeah, he was crazy strong, an unbelievable person, friend. And I'm very blessed to have trained with a number of athletes. Again, we could talk about different styles, but he was probably the most intense in craziness.
Class, mate. Look, I am honoured, mate. Honestly, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you're busy. Stay safe, obviously, with COVID and everything else out there. So you know, fingers crossed you can get back to some normality soon. Go and enjoy your meal, pal, and hopefully we'll speak again at some point in the future, mate. All right. Thank you, guys. I want to say everybody who was on this live feed for even my boy Guy Sistanino's just jumped on you. To thank you for tuning in. I really I'm grateful for all the support coming from Wales and all the countries that have jumped on you. Obviously, I stay close to my roots, and it's just a fantastic thing to come on here and just give back during this time. So Jordan obviously is one of my closest friends in the world, and I want to thank him for arranging this also. Obviously, thank you for being a gracious host and getting all these questions out of me. And enjoy your drink, guys. And I most certainly will see you guys all in the future soon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Take care, mate. Go on, Wales. Come on, boys. Take care. See you later, guys.